Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Ziggy Guns never failed.
What is up, Fantasy Football Fiends? My name is Ziggy Guns along with
JT Magnum.
And today we're going to be talking about Week 1 waiver wires. Should we pick them or buy and sell? And our studs, duds, and what else, JT?
The Papa San sleeper of the week.
There you go.
I like that. All right, the first waiver wire pickups. Now, these are the guys that, you know, they did good last week, so you're going to be all high up on them. Oh, I'm going to pick them up this week, and you get excited or whatever. We're going to let you know how we feel about these guys, and we're going to start with a quarterback, and his name is Terrell Pryor. And what do you think, Siggy, about Terrell Pryor?
I think Pryor is a good pickup if, now this is an if though, pretty big if you need a good backup and your points is based on, you know, the rushing yards, things of the nature. Me personally, you're probably going to have pretty decent backups already, but he's certainly worth a look for some decent points on a bye week.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think if you already have a quarterback that you don't feel comfortable with starting every week, then you might want to pick up a Terrell Pryor for matchup-based games. So if you have a quarterback that you might want to sit 1 week, like a Ben Roethlisberger, where he's having offensive line problems and they're having some issues and stuff like that, and you want to start a Terrell Pryor 1 week and start them and alternate your quarterbacks, then pick up a Terrell Pryor. Other than that, don't pick him up. But he's going to get you, like he said, he's one of those guys that can get you 100 yards rushing and a few touchdowns running or throwing. So you can't go wrong with them depending on the matchup.
Certainly wouldn't have the hype yet of an RG3 or Cam Newton quite yet because, let's face it, the Raiders just have not proven that they can be a good team.
Yeah. And for our running backs, there's Joique Bell. He was the kind of guy that is probably going to be on your waiver wire list, and he's the guy that he scored a couple touchdowns due to the fact that kind of goal line situation thing. He had like a few yards receiving, but he's obviously the guy that spells Reggie Bush. So in my eyes, I say pick him up only if you're in a deep running back league with one of those like 12, 14-man leagues or something like that where you need to pick up running backs just to hold them just in case somebody gets hurt and you don't want to make sure you lose those kind of guys. Other than that, if you're in a 10-team league, you have no reason picking up Joique Bell.
I agree completely. Deep league, obviously, if you're the Reggie Bush owner, maybe you take a shot with a spot in your bench for him just in case Reggie Bush gets injured because he is prone, to injuries. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly not worth like starting in 1 week or anything like that, unless you're in a points per reception league and he starts to spell Bush a little bit more. Instead of being at 20, I think it was 25 and 10 split this past week. Touches. If he starts creeping up to 15, then maybe it's worth a deep league start. But I agree.
For wide receivers, there's a few on there that did well. The NFL went crazy this past week in yardage with passing and passing touchdowns, and wide receivers were just running free all over the place. So, we said it already at the beginning. Wide receiver this year was going to be a very deep league at wide receiver this year because it just seems like these wide open offenses with these amazing quarterbacks just keep launching balls. So Leonard Hankerson is the first guy that we're going to talk about. I'm not even going to say anything more other than sell. To me, it was just a fluke. He's not the star of that team. He just happened to get the benefit of the doubt from Garcon and like people being double covered. So I'd say don't pick up Hankerson.
I agree. Sell on him. No, we don't have to talk much about him. I just figured that Davis would pick up that slack going forward.
Yeah, then you have Jerome Simpson, and I'm going to talk about two people, Jerome Simpson and Brian Hartline. Jerome Simpson, I say sell. I don't like him. I just feel like he's one of those inconsistent guys for me. He had a great week this week, but I still see Greg Jennings and Cordero Patterson getting the ball, or Cordero Patterson getting the ball. Then Brian Hartline's a guy that I say pick up. He's the guy that Mike Wallace is going to see a lot of double teams. People respect his speed. Safeties go over the top on him. and Brian Hartline can go anywhere he wants, over the middle or outside, and he just seems to be always be getting open, and he's going to benefit from Mike Wallace being there.
I'm gonna say pick both of them up if you have a deep bench. You know, if you can afford the extra receiver. If you're holding on to somebody like what's his name out of Jacksonville. Actually, even if you have Cecil Shorts, I mean they didn't look like that offense is any better with Henny or especially not like with the other guy Gabbard. So if you have them and you're expecting them to produce, then both of them, in my opinion, are worth a look over them simply because they look like they're going to be involved with the offense going forward more so than anybody in Jacksonville or even in Oakland.
Yeah, and the next two guys are Julian Edelman and Eddie Royal. Both had, I believe, 2 touchdown days. Julian Edelman had a pretty good amount of points against the Bills. He looks, I would say Eddie Royal is one of those guys, again, to me, a Jerome Simpson type. He shows up a game and then he just disappears. And I would say don't pick him up. But Edelman is a guy you have to pick up. Danny Amendola is pretty much not going to play. He's always hurt. You never know with this guy. He was already pulling on his groin in the first game and somehow came back to play. But I see Julian Edelman being the number one focus for Tom Brady. He's his safety blanket. So definitely a pickup.
Edelman for sure. Pickup of the week, star of the week. I mean, this guy is going to be the main guy going forward. I even think when Amendola is healthy, I mean, obviously we saw that Brady trusted both of them off the bat. Edelman, though, the main difference was he was looking at him in the end zone. And until Gronkowski comes back, that's going to be a huge benefit for him. Obviously, Amendola is playing hurt already, and he's already going to miss this week against the Jets. So Edelman for sure. Pick up Royal, no way.
All right, the next guy we're going to talk about is a guy that flew under my radar, and I was shocked, at what happened. And if you picked him up from the draft, all hail you, fantasy gurus, because I didn't even see this guy coming, and that's Julius Thomas, the tight end from Denver. He had an amazing game, and I say pick him up. Regardless of what you have at tight end, pick him up. The reason why, put him on your bench. If you have another good tight end, you can alternate him just based on matchups alone. And on top of that, don't let somebody else pick him up and beat you with him.
Yep.
That's what I say.
Obviously, a must-start tight end, must pick up of the week. This guy, in my opinion, is number one tight end option at this point. If you have a Kyle Rudolph, who you might have drafted pretty high, I'm going to put him in there ahead of him already because the offense of the Broncos looks unstoppable, and you have so many weapons that, yes, they're going to be fighting for a share of that Lions, feast there, but I think the tight end has always been one of those spots that benefits from, having good receivers on the outside, and certainly the Broncos have that.
And next we got the Cowboys D and the Chiefs D. Now, I say the Cowboys D seemed good in the fact that they can get after, they apply some pressure and they got some turnovers. But I would say sell on both of these just because of the simple fact the Chiefs played Jacksonville, so you don't really know what they're capable of yet. And I don't know. I just have a problem with the way they move their ball offensively right now. And the Cowboys D, they gave up a lot of passing yards to Peyton Manning or to Eli Manning. So I don't think they've shored up that defense yet just enough. So I would say for now, do not start both of them. I think it was kind of like a first week thing where they got a lot of turnovers and they, that's what happened. But I would not say pick up either one of these two.
Funny thing is, I was at that game. I went to the Sunday Night Football game, Cowboys-Giants, and the crowd was all excited about their defense. They thought it was the greatest defense in the world. And then whenever I told them, man, he threw 450 yards, they looked at me like I was crazy. What are you talking about? He threw 3 interceptions. It's like they completely ignored what Eli was really doing to them. This was a classic case of shooting themselves in the foot. I actually blame Coughlin for benching Wilson, especially at the end, that last turnover, because the running back went the wrong way. But, it did happen. They did make some plays. They obviously got a couple of touchdowns. I still say I agree with you. Dallas defense, until they prove that those cornerbacks can stop the receivers, I wouldn't pick it up.
Now, this part of the show, we do our stud, duds, and Papa San sleeper. And I'm going to start off with my stud of the week. And my stud is the guy that was my sleeper last week. And I called it. I said it. NFL Fantasy Live said, nope, sit him. I said, start him. Jared Cook from the St. Louis Rams. The guy's a beast, and he's going up against Atlanta, who cannot stop tight ends. Last year, they gave up big games to Zach Miller in the playoffs, then Vernon Davis, and then they gave up a good game this year to Jimmy Graham, already scoring a touchdown. I see Jared Cook scoring another maybe touchdown or two and having big yards against them. He's too fast. They can't cover tight ends.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a real good pick. My stud of the week is going to be who we talked about earlier, who's probably going to be your pickup of the week off the waiver, and that is Edelman for the Patriots against the Jets. We're talking about a team that their defense is still trying to find itself, and the Patriots, their offense is going to be all over with, or their offense is going to beat Edelman because with Amendola hurt, Gronkowski hurt, Tompkins not doing anything. I don't even know the other receivers. They were just a bunch of names out there. Edelman should be the guy that gets a lot of touches. Now, if you're in a points reception league, I expect a huge game, kind of like the Wes Welker had against the Ravens. I expect at least that with Edelman this week against the Jets.
And my dud of the week is going to go to Ben Roethlisberger, the guy that you're going to replace with Terrell Pryor this week, I hope, because he's going against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's Bengals defense is very tough against the run. And if you all know, Steelers right now do not have a running back. They're looking. They just re-signed Jonathan Dwyer, and they're trying everything. And on top of that, they lost their Pro Bowl center, and they just seem in disarray. Ben Roethlisberger was arguing with his offensive coordinator. There's just too much going on in Pittsburgh right now, and with that Cincinnati defense, I just don't start Ben Roethlisberger this week.
I don't trust any Pittsburgh player right at this point. My dud of the week is gonna have to be, and this is gonna be a tough one. I'm picking a name that's a top 5 player probably. C.J. Spiller going up against a very tough run defense, Carolina Panthers. They stopped Marshawn Lynch, they stopped Russell Wilson from running the ball, and I expect C.J. Spiller, who's more of a he's not necessarily outside. He actually is a pretty good up the middle kind of guy, like Lynch. And I just don't see that happening. And then if you take that away from him, and he has to make his plays on the outside, I don't see EJ Manuel wanting to do that whenever he can also run. So I expect CJ Spiller to have a pretty bad week.
Yep. And this week, my Papa San sleeper is a pick that I wish I didn't have to make. I'm a 49ers fan, as you all know. I always wear my 49er hats, and it's Doug Baldwin, the wide receiver from the Seahawks. Could be a waiver wire pickup for you for some leagues, but he tortures the Niners. He's always scored touchdowns against the Niners. Last year in the big game that Seattle beat the Niners in, he scored 2. And right now, the third corner for the Niners is Nnamdi Asomugha, and he's struggling. He let up a lot of yards from Jordy Nelson. I mean, he did have a couple key blocks, but still, that doesn't matter. He let up a lot of yards from Jordy Nelson, and I just see Doug Baldwin having a big game. I hope this wasn't the case, but he's still my sleeper of the week.
My sleeper of the week is going to be Dwayne Bowe. I mean, we were talking about the Cowboys not able to stop any receivers. Matt Castle, while I don't expect a huge game from him, I expect him to be throwing the ball to Dwayne Bowe because he should be open in every play, especially around the red zone. I expect Dwayne Bowe to have a pretty good game.
And that's it for our show this week. I wanted to apologize real quick for the Twitter handles. I screwed up Siggy Guns and my Twitter handles on there. So if you try to follow us on Twitter, the correct ones will be now displayed, and you'll be able to see those. And you can follow us on Twitter for any updates or anything we're talking about. We'd love to talk we love to tweet during the games on Sunday as well. And stay tuned for Saturday. That's going to be our Pick'em show. That's when Siggy and I talk about our picks of the week. We're not going to do Thursday picks. We're just going to stick it to Sunday. So stick to Sunday and Sunday night and Monday night. That way, we don't have to do like 3 shows just for in
But
one day.
if you want to know Thursday, though, I'm going to go ahead and say that the Patriots are going to beat the Jets.
I actually have the Jets beating the Patriots. No, I'm just kidding. I think the Jets are going to have a good game against the Patriots, but I think the Patriots will come out the winners. But
yeah, I think it's going to be a close game too. But Patriots shouldn't lose at home. That's the way I look at it.
And so stay tuned for Saturday for our Pick'em show. Feel free to pick against us, and also leave comments. Tell us what you like this week. Tell us what your sleepers are. Tell us what your studs are, what your duds are. This is fantasy football. This is for all of us to communicate and help each other out. And you might see something that we don't, and we might like it, and maybe we'll start them this week. So feel free to leave all kinds of comments and feedback and let us know what you think about the show. All right? So for Siggy Guns and JT Magnum, Fantasy Football Fiends, we out.